All right, welcome everybody. I'd like to introduce Arun, and today we're going to be talking about price volume and revenue margin bridges and what they are and how you can use them for your business. So maybe we'll start off, Arun, maybe introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me, Tim. This is, I'm looking forward to this podcast. My name is Arun Khaitan. And I've been in the pricing and pricing analytics field now for upwards of 25 years, mostly with the traditional companies, AT&T, GE, Dell, and now, increasingly in the SaaS space for some of the startups, including, all the way up to Cisco recently as well. The topic of interest today is price volume and the revenue and margin bridge, right?
Yeah. So maybe we start off and we'll give a little bit of a description of what the heck is this that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. In a nutshell, the revenue bridge bridges the between two different revenue events. For example, the January monthly recurring revenue to February monthly recurring revenue, or it could be annual recurring revenue from 24 to 23 or 25, 24 to 25, quarterly, etc. It doesn't even have to be contiguous, but that's the most likely. And when it bridges all the events between the two revenue events, it helps explain how the business is doing very succinctly, very clearly, and helps you decide your next course of action.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so what kind of businesses can typically find this type of a tool or calculation helpful?
Yeah. So anytime you have any kind of complexity, multiple customers, multiple customer types, various products, perhaps even a difference between service revenue and usage revenue. All that helps you map what is going on. A revenue bridge helps you map it very, very properly. So any kind of complexity in your business, if you have a very straightforward business, one product, one customer, obviously you don't need a revenue bridge. You can pretty much get it, do it in your head. But very few businesses are kind of like that, right? So the revenue bridge is helpful as you help to capture the complexity and breaks it down, as well as as you increase in complexity, it helps you capture what's happening, what's working, and what's not working. So literally every business can use this.
Perfect. So maybe you can tell us a little bit kind of in practice, right? In practice, how are you going to use this type of a tool and this calculation, and how it becomes really useful for your business, and kind of give us some examples and show how that would be applied?
Yeah, absolutely. May I go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so let me do that. So I'm hopefully sharing. And let me bring up a PowerPoint that helps capture, how a revenue bridge works, and then show some of the calculations behind it as well. So very simply, we're trying to bridge the change from one revenue event to the other, right? So let's say we start with January MRR, right? Monthly recurring revenue in your business. And we notice that perhaps the usage has gone down a little bit. Perhaps even the price has gone down a little bit. And then, you've had some churn. And so that gives you what your February legacy monthly recurring revenue looks like. And then it maps, wow, a whole bunch of new customer revenue has come in. And so your final February monthly recurring revenue looks like this. In a way, if something like this were happening in your business, this is of course an example, then you'd be able to see what's going on, and then you'd be able to dig into kind of what you really need to know. And so let's say if you want to look at what's actually happening in this area of how the usage, price, customer churn has impacted what was my January recurring revenue, and dig into that a little bit, right? And if you look at it and break it down by product, what's happening is, okay, product one usage actually went up, but its pricing actually went down, and I'll show you the calculation around it in just a second, Tim, as well. But here's what you can actually visually see what is going on. And then product two usage went down, perhaps the price didn't really change, and product three didn't have much of an impact. And that's how you landed and ended up in your February legacy revenue. So how do we even get to building a bridge like this? It's all based on the data behind, right? And so if you look at, let's say this is the example data created that shows, hey, this was your January revenue, right? You have your usage hours, your bill charges, your ASW cost, third-party cost, sales commission, your tier refund if you reach some sort of a tier, and then your price per hour, right? And that's what happened in January. And look what happened in February. You had by customer, by product, by customer, by product. What happened with customer 1, 2, 3, product 1, 2, 3, and you map all that together. And so that leads you to calculate out what actually happened with all the different things that we mapped out in our PowerPoint. So we can see, for example, if you take the same customer and same product, what was the January price, what was the January usage, and what was the February usage? And so we can map out the usage change. Similarly, if you take by product, what was the January usage, which is the price, and the February price, we can see the difference based on what the change in price did. And price change could be an actual price change, or if your customer hit a different tier, and so your price changed automatically based on the usage going up, all of that gets captured. And here's all your new business that happened in February that did not happen in January, right? Very simple layout, but going back to what we were talking about, it helps you capture what exactly is happening in this whole area where your usage, price, and customer churn is happening, and then a whole bunch of new customer revenue got your February MRR to where it was, or to where you can see it to be much higher than January.
Got you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, so it's a nice way of just really breaking down and getting visibility into what's actually happening to getting your end results, right? So I guess like some of the questions I would have around it is like, what are some of like the key data points and things that you need to be digging up in order to be able to create? You showed a few different examples of unit price and these sorts of things, but also in the spreadsheet there was some stuff around, your commissions, so what are kind of like the necessities that you need, the bare minimums, and then what are if you want to get a full picture, what's the type of data that you need to have in there?
Absolutely. So one of the key things to understand here is this is capturable through all your billing data, directly, right? Whatever you're billing for in terms of usage hours, charges, and whatever you're paying out in terms of AWS costs, commissions, third-party costs, should be captured in what is called transactional data for your company. And that's all in the billing data, directly capturable. On top of that, there can be a little bit, and this is a slight variation of what a lot of companies do. On top of that, you can have a master data that captures something qualitative about customers and products. That's not necessarily in the billing data, but that can be overlaid to see, hey, the key products, how they're doing, the service products, how they're doing, the really important customers, the new customers, the small customers, the large customers, etc. Some of that can actually be captured through the transactional data as well. For example, if we can easily see that customer three revenue is very high, the system can easily capture that as a large customer, and customer two revenue is slightly smaller. You can capture that as a small customer. Everything should be directly capturable from your billing data, and how the construction of the revenue bridge then takes some calculations in the back to convert that into a visual that helps you understand the business.
Gotcha. So I guess the totality and the complexity of the type of data that you want to put in here will also be based off of kind of this, how sophisticated your pricing models are, right? Are you tiering things? Did your tier levels change between, period 1 and period 2, right? Do you have time of day rates that are happening, or from point A to point B that's charged different than, C to D? So a breakdown of kind of those transactions and possible usage data. So I'm curious if there's extra things, anybody that is calculating, usage-based transactions, whether that be in AI, where it might be CPU or memory or certain models being used more than other. I'm just curious if there's things around usage-based charging that might be extra things that you want to take into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. The area where you're going into exactly is where how sophisticated a company wants to see their business. So, for example, here we deliberately kind of identified the times and the dates when the usage started and ended. If you break it down and as your charges and billing shift and capture those differences, exactly, the mathematics can make that come out and crystallize for you, how effective you were in capturing the highest priced areas, or what kind of impact that had on your revenue, as well as how as customers move to different tiers, which is where your tier refund sort of fits in. How much if in here, for example, customer 1 did not go up a tier, but customer 2 really, customer 3, that's a new customer, really bumped up on the usage level. Those kind of things can help you capture how effective you are in bringing the usage higher, and how much of the tier discount, so to speak, the higher volume discount, ended up impacting your revenue can actually be captured. If it's too much relative to the usage increase, maybe you're too generous in your tiers. If it's relatively a lot less, then your usage is driving the revenue higher, and you're incentivizing the customers properly to get higher in usage. Similarly, of course, the time of day.
Right, and that'll give you visibility into things, because maybe, hey, pricing didn't actually change at all, but thresholds of when you move between those different price tiers may have changed in that time frame, and being able to dissect, okay, well, this is why it's happened. Our revenue is less because we gave them more favorable tiers of when they move from one to the other, right?
Exactly. You're getting into something that's exactly the high value, even though let me kind of explain this a little bit, right? So in product, if you break it down by product alone and leave the customers out of it, right? We can see that the product 1 usage actually went up, but the product 1 pricing went down. And this could easily have been because of tiers or the time of day, as you mentioned, right? And this is kind of where you ended up, right? And from here, you can easily see that clearly product 1 is driving the usage. Product 2 price positioning may or may not be on target, but it's something to look at. At the end of the day, the revenue bridge paints a picture for you to see how healthy your business is, and if you really need to take a little bit of a microscope to look into some specific areas. So product 2 in this could actually be that just the usage went down, or it's not driving the volume that you were expecting. And in product one, you have the idea that product one pricing went down, but just like you just said, Tim, it may not have anything to do with price change. It may have to do with the fact that you hit a higher tier, or the time of day pricing. But it could also, at the end of the day, it could be much more deliberate price change as well. And that's something the system can actually calculate for you and show it to you. Very importantly, though, right, one of the things the revenue bridge kind of shows you is when you capture this thing between usage going up and pricing impact, it gives you what's called price elasticity for that particular product. Similarly, it can actually give you cross price elasticity between two products. That's something every every business is trying to understand on a regular basis about their product and their product's presence in the market. What is the value the customers are paying? If I've captured the value correctly, can I move the price up? Will I lose a lot of customers? If I give a price discount, will I get much more additional customers or volume in its place, so that actually the revenue starts growing? Those kind of questions can get answered very critically through this revenue bridge.
Gotcha. And then I guess once you've got your, say, kind of your formulas or your levers that you want in there from a calculation of the business, it really allows you to get both kind of like a micro and a macro view. So
Yeah.
and it really becomes down to date ranges, right? So I can take a look whether it's month over month, quarter over quarter, or my entire year, because some of this could be seasonality.
Yeah, absolutely.
That have, say, outdoor sports, products or something along those lines. And those things would end up being variables going, okay, well, this is general trends that we typically see through the summer months or versus the winter months across the different products that they're offering.
Exactly. You could have, if you do a quarter by quarter, you can even call it the winter months and the summer months, basically, like you just said. And it'll plot out the difference, how your customers did, what pricing, what products got consumed, and exactly lay out how the seasonality is impacting your business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, question for you: what would you say are kind of like the key takeaways for someone to be thinking about, if they're looking to implement something like this, and the importance of it for the business?
Yeah. The key takeaway is you'll understand, just like I showed the products over here, you can see the customers, how they're doing, for example, right? And so, and then you can combine the whole mix change and the customer mix change and product mix change. What it boils down to is it's giving you what are the change drivers between one revenue event to the next, and gives you the details of what exactly how those changes drove it. So within customers, what happened? Within products, what happened? As a combination, what was the difference between price and volume? How did the tiering impact you? How did the time of day usage and pricing impact it? So that you can actually understand how effective your strategy actually is in the market. Are you doing the right tier discounts? Are you doing the correct pricing for the surge pricing? Let's just call it. Or is it too much, or is it too little? Is it getting you the optimal revenue impact that you're hoping for?
Gotcha.
Here, for example, right, if I had to sort of quickly show you what's going on with the customers, what I've classified is customers with 3 products or more tend to give you a lot more revenue impact. Customers with just 2 products may not have that much stickiness. But really, customers with only 1 product really are where you have to watch, that they tend to churn a lot. Again, a made-up example, Tim, but these are the kind of things and intelligences you can actually gather. You could have easily classified customers in a different way. This could have been North America and Europe customers, etc., right? Or it could have been, large or small customers or different verticals, right? Manufacturers versus retail or whatever. And that would have also just as easily fitted into the picture of explaining what is going on in your
Yeah.
business.
Well, I can imagine, as companies kind of go through this exercise and they break it down, they're probably having a few kind of aha moments going, oh, that was, the scenario that we're finding there. And I'm sure you've got probably some different war stories and stuff around some interesting findings that people have had in their data along those lines.
Yeah, if I may, I did a exercise for Medtronics for their European operation. A revenue bridge was able to show, and this is of course, a widget type business, medical instruments, but a revenue bridge was able to show how much the gray market was impacting their business. So, products being picked up in Poland, but being sold in Germany, and impacting their German business, basically, right? Those kind of things are very important in a legacy type business to stay ahead of. But that example may not be true in, let's say, a usage-based company, but still, the example gets you through to understand that whatever impacts your business would be clearly laid out in front of you.
Gotcha. Okay, well, any other kind of closing thoughts or things, words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with here today?
So one of the things that I really want to kind of highlight is there's a lot of commonality between different types of businesses that so that can capture the revenue bridge correctly. But if it's customized to each customer a little bit, that'll make the biggest impact for them, because it captures exactly what they're looking for to understand in their business. If I have a company which has a product that I'm selling to a lot of different people, for example, let's make I'm selling virtual routers to very many different people. I would like to understand what the branches are doing versus what the campus is doing, for example, right? When it's very customized for slightly customized for each business, then they can actually capture the intelligence of what it's doing and have it benefit them.
Perfect. Okay, well, I think that reaches the end of the content that we're going to go through today. So I just wanted to thank you, Arun, again for sharing your knowledge with the community here. Really appreciate you spending the time to explain the concepts and kind of the key things to be thinking about as you're implementing this in your own business. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
No, absolutely, Tim. Thank you for inviting me. I hope some of the customers think this is of value that they can bring.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for this podcast. Just like to thank everybody for joining and viewing, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Take care.